that we as parents, and we know our parents, was concerned for our welfare as far as going to school and marrying and having a good life. And basically Naomi's care in the very first verse of chapter 3 says, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, Ruth, my daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? So, and take a note that she didn't say daughter-in-law. She addressed her as her daughter, and she's concerned for her well-being. And Ruth's redemption, which we are getting into in this chapter 3, was important to Naomi. The redemption part goes back to Deuteronomy, I think, chapter 25 and verse 5, I think it was, where the brother is to marry his dead brother's wife and redeem if he could, the land and preserve the seed. In the previous chapter 2, the kindness and the gratitude her daughter-in-law, who has conducted herself respectfully toward Naomi. Now Naomi gets to show respect and concern in chapter 3 for Ruth. Let me see. Naomi, verse 2, it says, Now Boaz, whose young women you were with, is he not our relative? In fact, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. So Naomi, knowing the customs of the Jews, sees an opportunity here for Ruth. And she knows what to do, and she gives instructions to Ruth on what to do. This is kind of a good lesson for us as Christians today. We can apply that to us as far as seeing opportunities and taking advantage of opportunities to teach and to set a good example. To not wait passively, if you will, for opportunities. We see an opportunity, we should take advantage of it to teach. If somebody asks a question, hopefully we can say, we don't know it, we can search it out. So we should look for opportunities as believers to take the initiative when the opportunity arises, just like Naomi did. She sees an opportunity to help Ruth, and in chapter 3, she does this. In verse 3, she says, Therefore wash yourself and anoint yourself, put on your best garment, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. So she tells her what to do. She's giving her instructions on basically to clean up and to put some perfume on. She knows that it's at the end of harvest, and she knows they do banquets and feasts, when they're harvesting and putting away grain. So she knows where Boaz would be. And she knows that he's the next of kin. In verse 2, is he not our relative? And so, once again, she sees an opportunity. She gives instructions to Ruth. Verse 4 says, Then it shall be when he lies down that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go in and cover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what you should do. So, verse 5, she says, And she said to her, All that you say to me, I will do. So, once again, Ruth is willing to do what Naomi tells her to do. She said, all that you tell me, all that you say to me, I will do. Going back to the vow that she made in chapter 1, you know, your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die. And now she's listening to the instructions from Naomi, and she's willing to do those things. She probably does not know the importance of this and how to go about it, but she just knows what Naomi is telling her to do, and she's willing to do it. And that takes courage as well, because she don't know what she's getting herself into. It could be a dangerous situation. Naomi knew that when the company left, that would be an opportunity for her. I think she said, "Don't let yourself be known until the people have gone." In verse 4, yeah, that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go in and uncover his feet. This is basically, we'll get into it, is an invitation to marriage, basically. And Boaz, he will know this, and that's the reason that she says that he will tell you what you should do. So I'm sure she's thinking, okay, hopefully this will work out, as we'll read forward. All right, verse 6. So she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law instructed her. So there we go. She went by the instructions on what to do according to all. You know, we've heard that before. You know, Noah did all those things which God had commanded him to do. And so by him doing those things, we know 8 souls were saved on the ark. But it says that she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law instructed her to do.
You know, Stacy, the thing that I look at here, she did all of this, not really knowing what she was doing.
Good point.
She did it without questioning.
Yes, that's a good point. She didn't say, well, why should I do this or why should I do that? Yeah. She went, and she told her before she left, I'm going to do everything you told me to do.
Well, I mean, this is a good example of submission.
Yes. Yes, it is. And to your point, where she came from, totally different lifestyles and beliefs than what it is in Bethlehem. And so for her to do these things, it's impressive to me for her because I know most people wouldn't do what she has done and continue to do those things. And like you said, she was submissive to what Naomi told her to do. Good point. She did all that her mother-in-law.
She's also showing how much she trusts Naomi.
Yeah, because she don't know what she's getting into. It could actually be a dangerous situation, but you could look at it. Naomi obviously knew Boaz and probably knew what kind of man he was. He obviously was a respected man. As we read forward, we'll see that. But Naomi knew the heart and mind probably of Boaz, or she hoped she did. But Ruth did not. And so this was a very difficult situation for Ruth. But once again, it shows what kind of individual that she was. You know, willing to leave her homeland and go to a place and people that would look down upon her. And so, but she's doing all that Naomi tells her to do.
Stacy,
Yes.
the customs and everything we really think is strange
Yeah.
at that time. Which would be the most difficult for us to have to go back into their time, or for them to have to come to our time?
I think it would be more difficult for us, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but if you're raised that way and then you go to the
Yeah, and that's true. And and Ruth was not raised with those customs. Now, Naomi was, but, and we'll get into chapter 4, and it's a little bit strange as well, you know, as far as how Boaz goes about his business. But yes, to your point, I'm glad we don't have to worship like they did in the Old Testament. We don't have to get a goat and carry with us to worship service, or an animal, you know, and so, or a lamb. You know, and to that point, I've had people, you know, ask me where I went to church, and I said, well, I worship at the Washington Avenue Church of Christ, and they say, oh, you're the guys that don't believe in the Old Testament, and that's not true.
I think we're the only ones that do.
That's a good point. I think because you got to know the Old Testament to understand the New Testament. It's, to me, the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed, and to fully get a grasp of the New Testament, you got to study the Old Testament. Paul said it was for our learning, and so. Verse 7. And after Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain, and she came softly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. Okay. Here you may read cheerful, thinking that they had a party of drinking, but I think here it just means that he enjoyed his company. He was there as the owner. He was overseeing the harvest and being respectful to his servants. And I think he was just full and happy and ready to go to bed. So,
Well, this happened at night.
yeah,
And the Jewish day started at 6 o'clock in the morning.
that's exactly. So he's trying to get a good night's sleep.
So it's probably a pretty long day.
Yes, he was time to go to bed and get some rest, and he was not drunk, just cheerful. What does the King James Version say? Merry. Okay. So he was happy. He was. He's a businessman, so just by him being there to oversee this, you know, he's a wealthy man, a man of great wealth, and so this was a good example, you know, for him to be there and be a part of it. And we read earlier where, you know, his servants respected him, and you can see that in how he went about his daily business. But I think it was custom for them to have a banquet in a time of harvest. But it says that she came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. So quietly, she wouldn't be, you know, noticed. And he's laying at the end of, it says, he went and lie down at the end of the heap of grain. So it probably wasn't very comfortable there, but probably be better than him going back into the city and then coming back the next day. Like you said, the day begins at 6. So even us, you know, we need a good night's rest, or I do. Give me 7 or 8 hours of sleep and I can go the next day. She was quiet and asked to not be heard. And her sole purpose for this, and Ruth's sole purpose and Naomi's sole purpose, was to find out if Boaz would be willing to be a redeemer of the family. And like Bob said, it's really hard for us to understand the customs and how they went about it, but this was a proposal of marriage. I think that's what you were talking about, Wayne, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay.
My point was that because Ruth was a widow, she had the right to initiate the process.
Okay. And that's basically what she's doing here. by Naomi's instructions. She probably didn't have a clue what to do, and now, but she's doing all those things which she was told to do.
And actually, Boaz bought the land that belonged to her father-in-law, which since
Yeah.
her father-in-law passed away, then
Yeah.
Jewish custom is after so many years, then it automatically went back. I don't care who you bought it from, it went back to the family.
I read that's got something to do with Jubilee.
50 years.
50 years. And I didn't even understand that one until I read about it, what you're talking about. And of course, we'll get into that a little bit later.
In chapter 4.
Chapter 4, we,
Redeeming the land.
yes, and we'll talk about that. But Jubilee was like 7 Sabbaths plus 1 year. Is that right? Or
7 Sabbath years,
and then
and then the next year would be the 50th year.
yes,
7
we're
Sabbath years would be 49.
we're
And then Jubilee would be on the 50th year.
50th year. Yeah, where the debts were relieved.
The land would go back
Yeah,
to the original owner.
is that what you're talking about there? Yes.
Land goes back to the
So-
original owner.
So probably what Elimelech did, since it was a famine, he probably mortgaged it in that case. I mean, I don't know. I'm just,
He sold it.
yeah,
But guess what? They could sell it and then they still get it back after
Yep.
your Jubilee.
okay. So, but that's what, like you said, happens in chapter 4.
There is a problem with women cannot inherit.
The women cannot inherit.
The law knows,
Yeah,
and therefore it had to go to
a brother or Israelite.
a
Or,
male member of the family.
yeah,
Which is why when you get into this closest relative, is because he would have been, had he married Ruth and inherited
Elimelech.
he would have been the one to inherit the land, that the land would have gone back to in the year of Jubilee.
Got you. Yeah. And see in Deuteronomy, the Redeemer was mentioned as the brother, but in this case, it's not obviously Elimelech's brother. It's the nearest of kin. Well, there's another one, but we'll read about that later. But
Stacy, now some of that might be, if the brother died,
it goes
his next oldest brother was required, now, if they didn't have any children,
right
he was required to marry her
to redeem the.
and raise up a child.
Yeah.
But the child would not be his inheritance, it would be his brother.
Yep. Yep. And see, once again, that's another one that it's hard for us to understand those customs and laws and stuff that we're not used to. And once again, Ruth she probably didn't know anything about this stuff at all, but she went by what Naomi instructed. Verse 8. Now it happened at midnight that the man was startled and turned himself, and there a woman was lying at his feet, and he said, "Who are you?" So she answered, "I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative." There was the marriage proposal, basically, in a sense. So think about this. He goes and lays down to get a good night's rest, and at midnight, which is 6 hours away from the next day, he is startled. You know, we would be that way. If somebody come and laid at the end of our bed, you know, and you couldn't, it was dark, you couldn't see them, you would be startled and want to know who it is. It was probably dark and it was nighttime, and so he was awakened by this individual. I mean, he knew who she was, but he just couldn't see her, so he was wanting to know who that person was lying down at his feet. He says, "Who are you?" And so Ruth replied, and she told him her name and then her purpose for basically being there. She come to put herself under his protection. as the appointed person by divine law. And so to be a protector and to keep a family and the estate from perishing. And that basically goes back to Deuteronomy, I think it was chapter 25. Boaz is to be the redeemer as a close relative. As Christians, we have found refuge. Ruth was looking for refuge under the wings of and care of Boaz. And as Christians, we have found our refuge under the wings of Jesus. He is our Redeemer. She says, I am Ruth, your maidservant. So by that, he obviously knew that it was Ruth that was there. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative. And by her saying that Naomi instructed her what to do and what to say. She probably had the faith in what instructions that she had that Boaz would know. Well, I think Ruth was told that Naomi said that he will tell you what to do. But he didn't really have to. He could have ran her off. Verse 10 says, Then he said, Blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter, for you have shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning, in that you did not go after young men, whether poor or rich. Okay, so this is a good verse. It stopped me for a little bit, and I did some thinking. He obviously knew her work ethic and what she had done, leaving her homeland and coming to Bethlehem, Judah, and working for Naomi to provide for Naomi. But at this point, he knows that being a younger lady, she could have went after younger men and went about her own business. But she did not. And there, once again, you can see the heart and mind and the virtues that Ruth has. That's the reason I love these 4 chapters, this book. For you have shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning, in that you did not go after young men, whether poor or rich. So he commends her for this.
I'm looking down my notes, and I don't know where I got it. These notes are about 10, 12 years old. But in my notes, I've got tradition has him at about 80 years old.
Wow.
I don't know where I got that,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's inspired.
Well, by the reading, we know that he's an older man than she is. You can assume that she's probably in her 20s, maybe 30s. I don't know, somewhere in her 30s. But by him saying this, that lets you know that she was young enough to find another younger man. But by her doing what Naomi had told her to do, this thoroughly impressed Boaz. But for him to be 80,
I don't know.
yeah, well, he's
Don't
probably
take that back.
right. Okay, but we know he's an older man than what Ruth is. But whether rich, poor or rich, Boaz, he knew that it was not sinful lust, if you will, that she was there. She was there for the welfare of her and Naomi. So he knew the reason in her mind that she was there. She bravely maintained her honor and his honor. She did not bring attention to herself and him. She had already proved herself in the field, but now she proved herself, her heart, her mind, really what true person that she was. Boaz was impressed, and he said that, "Blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter." Shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning. He knew what she had done, and now he sees really the heart and soul of Ruth. He commended her, spoke kindly to her, called her his daughter, so showed her respect. And you can see that Ruth is truly a virtuous woman. Even though she was a Moabite. I said this the last couple of weeks. God knows our hearts. He knows our minds. He knows what we think. He knows what we do before we do it. And he obviously knew that he knew the heart and mind of Ruth. Now, she had to do these things, but he knew what kind of person she was. And he probably, like I say, he probably understood that she was a younger lady and could have went after other men. And he commended her for not doing that. Verse 11, "And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request. For all the people of my town know that you are a virtuous woman." There you go. Not only does Boaz know that she's a virtuous woman, it says the whole town does. So she made a great impression, not only on Boaz, but the whole town. What great respect she has shown, or they have shown for her. For all the people of my town know that you are a virtuous woman. He says, I will do all that you require, basically. For it's the law. He understands the law, and Naomi knew that he understood the law. He basically says, I have no reason to decline. And he could have, but he didn't. Ruth was a poor lady at this point. She will not be, but at this point she was a poor young lady. But yet her virtues showed in a difficult situation and time. Just by her leaving her homeland and going to Bethlehem, Judah, and providing for her mother-in-law was a great show of kindness in itself. But now she continues to show her love, her loyalty to Naomi and her dead husband, Mahlon, as well. Verse 12. Now it is true that I am a close relative. However, there is a relative closer than I. So he made his promise conditional. He understands the law, and he knows that there is someone that is closer than he was to basically the right of redemption belonged. And that shows the mindset of Boaz. He was an honorable man as well by doing this. And we can assume that Naomi was not aware of this other individual because she had just moved back and she didn't know probably everything that was going on with Elimelech's family. But Boaz did because he had been there, so which makes sense. Naomi probably was not aware of the next of kin. But she also probably knew that Boaz would know otherwise. This verse also shows the determination that Boaz had to resolve this issue, because he was willing. It says, now it is true that I am a close relative, but however, there is a relative closer than I. So he knows what to do. He knows the customs. Verse 13 says, stay this night, and in the morning it shall be that if he will perform the duty of a close relative for you, good. Let him do it. But if he does not want to perform the duty for you, then I will perform the duty for you. As the Lord lives, lie down until morning. And so he agrees to do his part. He tells her to lay back down. He instructs her to stay the night. And if the other kinsman or next of kin refuses to do his part as a relative, then he would do it. Boaz would marry Ruth and redeem the land, and he would also repair the family. Basically, it was a conditional vow or promise that, first things first. And so once again, it shows what kind of mindset that Boaz has. He's an honorable man, a close relative for you. If he does, good. If not, then I will perform the duty for you. As the Lord lives, lie down until morning. So he's willing to do it. He's eager to do it. And he's even eager to take care of the situation at hand. He knows what to do. Verse 14 says, so she lay at his feet until morning, and she arose before one could recognize her. Then he said, do not let it be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. So we can, probably wouldn't had not been safe for her to go home in the middle of the night. But at daybreak, I guess you could, while everybody's still asleep before they get up, then she can go out, so no one would think badly of her. I guess that's what Boaz is saying here. She arose before one could recognize her, recognize another. Do not let it be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. So people probably would have been suspicious of Ruth spending the night with Boaz on the threshing floor. And he didn't want her to be humiliated. But once again, she did everything that she was told to do. She was submissive, like Aaron stated, not only to the instructions of Naomi, but submissive to the instructions of Boaz. And she was doing this for the sake of Naomi, basically, and her dead husband, Mahlon. All right, verse 15. Also he said, bring the shawl or apron that is on you and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 ephahs of barley. Now, I think other translations says measures of barley.
King James does.
Okay. So 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her. Then she went into the city. Boaz gave her a good gift, 6 measures of barley. And I read in 2 or 3 different places that this would have been about 75, 80 pounds. So she's going to be toting quite a bit of barley back to the city with her. I've read where a lot of times they would wrap it up in an apron or a shawl and put it on top of their head where it was easier to carry. And that may be in the case here because it says, and he laid it on her. So he may have helped her put it on top of his head before she went into the city. I got news for them young men. If she could tote 75 pounds, they may not want to mess with her. Because going back with that 75 pounds, that would be, just think about that. That's a lot of weight to be carrying. And but that was a great gift that that she received from Boaz. All right, verse 16. Okay, well, we'll stop right there at verse 16. More than likely, we will finish up the book of Ruth next Wednesday. We may not, but we probably will, because the last several verses are basically the genealogy. But either way, we'll probably finish up next week. Thank you so much.
I guess if I get up here and start speaking, everybody will just go, shh. Nobody heard me. Well, good evening. It's another fantastic Wednesday to be here to study God's Word. So I had this thought in my mind over the last couple of weeks. It's happened to me twice, really. So I want you to imagine, if you will, as I tell you this, imagine yourself in this situation, and think about if you've ever kind of been in this situation. So a couple weeks ago, I went down to Biloxi, Mississippi, with some friends, and all of us, there was about, I guess, 5 or 6 of us all together, and we went down to this bayou where the ocean runs off into a bayou, and you can get out on some kayaks, and you can get out there and you can paddle away and kind of explore a little bit. And we did. We probably for a couple hours there. Me and another guy, we finally kind of came to the end of our journey, and we decided we want to turn around and go back. Well, we got to paddle against the current to get back to where we're going, and it is not easy. You get out there at first, you think, oh, this is fun, but you're kind of going with the flow, going with the current. It's really easy, but then you got to turn around, and by the time you about halfway back, your arms they're burning, and there's nowhere to stop. There's nowhere for you to go except back to the dock. And you find out real quick what you're made of, especially when you look around. I told my friend this, is like, the crazy thing about this is, like, there's no quit here. There's no stopping until you get to the end, until we get back to where we can make land. And you look around for a second and you're thinking, man, like, what would I do if I couldn't go on anymore, right? But then you figure out real quick, I don't have a choice. I have to keep going. And I think, and we did, I told Kaylee this the other day. Me and Kaylee were taking the walking during the evenings, and I just got done mowing the yard. I said, hey, let's go. We can go walking. That's we get roughly to the end, and I'm thinking, man, my legs are kind of burning. And there's nowhere for me to stop. There's nowhere for me to go. I have to keep going, because to get back to the house, I can't stop. And I think about, if you want to turn to 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. Everybody, this might be a lot of people's life verse. A very well-known verse. But Paul writes to Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now, you got to think about what Paul went through throughout his conversion to the end of his life. The things that he had to endure. And Paul didn't quit. Paul never gave up. And right here he says, he knows his time is almost up. And he's writing this to Timothy. And he says, I fought that fight. I fought the good fight. I kept the faith. I finished the race. Sorry, I got that backwards. I finished the race. I kept the faith. So Paul can see the end. And when I was in that bayou, I could see the end. But I had to keep going. There was no other option for me but to keep paddling. Because if I stopped, nobody's coming to save me. I can't get there the water's not going to carry me there, because the current's going the other direction. And it doesn't matter how bad my arms are burning. If I stop, there's no getting to the end. There's no making land. There's no rest for me until I get back to where I'm going. And that's the exact same thing Paul is saying here. This is when he's talking about a race, he's not talking about a quick sprint. He's talking about a marathon. And marathons, are long, arduous processes, and they take a lot of energy. But you have to keep going, otherwise you're never going to reach the end. That's with any race. It's not just a sprint, not just a marathon, but a sprint. Also, if you stop, you don't finish. And that reminded me of, and I'm going to use this analogy by using scripture of the Ethiopian eunuch. If you want to turn to Acts chapter 8, so you got the Ethiopian eunuch. Philip, he sees him. He sees the Ethiopian eunuch going down the road. Spirit leads him over there, and he gets up. You know the story. He gets up to the carriage, and he sees the Ethiopian eunuch reading the book of Isaiah, and then he preaches Jesus to him, right? Well then, so this is how I'm going to end it. The Ethiopian eunuch, you know what he says. He said in verse 36 of chapter 8, "Now as they went down the road, they came to some water, and the eunuch said, 'See, here is water. What hinders me from being baptized?' And then Philip said, 'If you believe with all your heart, you may.' And he answered and said, 'I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God.' So he commanded the chariot to stand still, and both Philip and the eunuch went down into the water and be baptized. And he baptized him. Verse 39. Now when they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord caught Philip away, so the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing." So, in order for me to have had the good time that I had to get down in the water. What good it would have done me to stand on the shore and watch my friends paddle away? Wouldn't have done me any good. In order to enjoy that time, I had to get down in the water. It's amazing, isn't it? To get into Christianity, to start running that race, to get to the end, even when it's tiring for you, as it's tiring for me that day, just a couple weeks ago, it was exhausting. I still had to get down in the water. That's the first thing you got. The first thing you have to do is you got to get down in the water. Otherwise, you're going to stand on the shore and you're going to watch everybody else enjoy it, and then you're never going to finish that race. You're never going to get to the end. So I understand that. I know that's a short lesson tonight, but first things first is you got to get down in the water, and then you got to keep going. And yes, you may come at a point in your life where you do see the end, and then you just got to keep going. Because if you quit, you won't make it. And there's no quit in Christianity. There's no quit in following Christ. There's no quit when you obey the gospel. So if the first thing you need to do right now is get down into the water, then you have the opportunity tonight. And I did it again, didn't I? 88 is the song of encouragement. I always do that. 88. So if you need to do the first thing and take that first step and just to get down into the water, you have the opportunity to do that tonight. Or maybe you've fallen away. Maybe you've left your first love and you need to come back. Maybe, because it would have been very easy to get lost where we were at. I could have just paddled away. I didn't know where I was going. We had to stick together. And we had to kind of, and we were with somebody who kind of knew the area, right? But it's the same thing. Same thing that happened to you here. You can kind of just paddle away. And maybe you look up one day and you don't know where you're at. But then you can come back. Turn around, retrace your steps, and come back. If you need